Who hurt you or what happened?
Society.
If you could summarize your opinion towards women?
Like what I think of them?
Yes.
I do think they are very important. But
Shut up, you little bed end.
Incels. Who are they? What are they? Well, they're men who are members of an online subculture of people who define themselves as unable to get a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one. And of course, it's not their fault. I mean, why go to the trouble of getting a haircut or dressing smartly when you can just blame everyone else because you can't get your end away? And in today's video, which I can pretty much guarantee will get claimed by Jubilee, this fine specimen of a man tries to answer some questions about why he chooses to live his life this way. You know, instead of smartening himself up and going out and meeting the woman or man of his dreams. This should be fun. Please subscribe.
hey, I'm Brendio. I also go by Derek. I'm an incel, and I'm here to answer people's questions about the topic.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So you're an incel.
Yes.
Why would you ever sign up to do this?
I suppose I would want to give more of a positive light on this community, which is a very negative light upon it.
Negative light upon it? Well, I just don't understand that at all. It's almost as if people who are incels spend their lives being openly hateful and verbally abusive towards women. Oh wait, they do. But I'm sure that would have absolutely nothing to do with why these people can't get any attention from the opposite sex.
Okay, and do you think that's a good thing?
Yes,
Why is that?
because a lot of the boys in this community aren't bad people.
Interesting that you use the word boy instead of men. For me, that says a lot about the mentality of the incel community.
Who hurt you or what happened? What event sort of catalyzed this way of thinking and you getting into this kind of research?
Society.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that you're openly hating on women because you can't get one then? Why can't it just be because you have the personality of a wet dish rag and dress like you're 12? If you were going to buy a car and when you turned up it was dirty and covered in rust, would you still find it as appealing?
Do you hate women?
No,
No.
no.
Do you have a female role model in your life?
A female role model.
Yeah, like a mom or an aunt or a friend?
I mean, I love my mom. I wouldn't necessarily consider her a role model, but I do love her quite a bit.
Now to me, the fact that he even had to think about his response and then only say his mother after the woman asking the question prompted him tells me that this guy has issues far beyond not being able to find anyone willing to have sex with him.
If a woman was elected as president of the United States, how would you react?
I don't know. It probably would depend on the woman. I probably wouldn't be supportive of it, honestly, but
Haha, why is that funny? Or are the laughs just to hide the fact that you're dead inside? Why wouldn't a woman do a good job as president? Because she's not a man? That's a pretty narrow-minded way of looking at the world. And one of the indicators that help us understand why you're an incel.
I do think that, you know, men should be the leaders and women should be the caregivers and the loving, supporting, and the teachers in some cases.
But that implies that you also don't think men are any good at those kinds of things. I love a hug, and nothing makes me happier than cuddling up on the sofa with Mrs. Blinder and watching a film. Does that make me less of a man? Next you'll be telling me that you didn't cry when Bambi's mother was killed.
Since women of color or just women in general have been oppressed by certain systems and other oppressed communities, especially LGBTQ+, all those don't really fit with the spectrum that incels or you have been talking about. So why do you think your method of thought would help fix what we have today?
It wouldn't, but I'm not an incel, so let's see what he says about it. I'm sure it won't be massively offensive or hurtful towards women. And remember, she asked him for his thoughts on oppression.
I probably wouldn't view the things that you might view as oppression as oppression. I have a feeling. I would view it more as how we treat children that we love. We control them, but we control them lovingly, not as a slave, not as we're forcing them to do things against their will. I would view it more as a loving domestic thing in the past. And I would say that if we were to do it in a civilized way, maybe in a more, even a Christian way, even though I'm not really advocating for a certain religion or ideology, I would assume that women would probably be happier. And I wouldn't just assume that blindly, I would assume that based on the data that I have seen.
What data? So the gender pay gap, for one example, was done out of love? Or young black women being forced to work as domestic staff for the rich when slavery was a thing was done out of love? Is that what you're claiming? Now, it may just be me, but I think I may be starting to see why some women may not be that keen on going out with you. So I say again, what data? And more importantly, where can we find it?
I couldn't reference it offhand, but I believe there was a study that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Well, okay then. So you can't remember the citation, that's absolutely fine. I forget things myself all the time. But in my defense, I'm not a 20-year-old anymore. It's been a while. But you'd think that when you agreed to take part in whatever this is, you would have taken some time to note down any important points, so that if you were challenged, like you just were, you'd be able to provide the source to back up the really stupid thing you just said.
What do you think it is about liberal areas that create behavior in women that you think is a problem?
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects such as looks, and that typically makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people. Like, there's guys who are much better looking than I am who are having a really hard time finding someone in a place like LA or in London or in Auckland, New Zealand, but they probably would have a perfectly fine time finding a woman somewhere else.
Go there then. How are you able to say any of this with a straight face? Come on, really? So the issue isn't your misogynistic mindset or the fact that you look like you've grabbed the first items of clothing you found on your floor this morning because your mummy didn't do your laundry. The reason incels can't get anyone to sleep with them is because the other people are just too good looking.
There have been a few mass shootings in the past where these shooters actually stated that they were incels or were radicalized by online incels. What do you think about their actions?
I'm almost afraid to let him answer this because here in the UK, an incel named Jake Davison killed 5 people with a shotgun before taking his own life. He started off by shooting his own mother before going on to kill 3-year-old Sophie Martin and her father Lee. He then fatally shot Stephen Washington and Kate Shepherd before turning the weapon on himself. Now, following the shooting, there were discussions about whether incidents fueled by the incel ideology should be classified as terrorism. And without playing this tragedy down, because it was a tragedy, did he actually take the lives of 5 innocent people because he couldn't find a girlfriend? Think about that for a second.
I condemn their actions. I don't believe violence is the solution. I don't believe attacking random people is going to fix anything, whether they're women or men. I do think that the reason why they committed those actions was probably because of out of desperation or out of, mental problems that probably could have been prevented had the right support was in their community, in their household. If people, saw what they were posting and saw what they were experiencing in life and did something to help them.
So not their fault then? It's our pesky society that's to blame again? And before anyone gets all bent out of shape, like I know a lot of people will with this video, of course I know that there are things like this going on all the time that are in part down to a person's upbringing and where they live. But when somebody goes out and commits an act like this because no one will have sex with them, I for one would consider that to be a little bit of a problem.
Was there like a pivotal moment in your life, like a straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back?
It's constant years of rejection, no matter who the person was, constant years of rejection in other aspects of my life. It did kind of push me towards more, I suppose, radical beliefs, but I suppose they're only like radical, but they're more just old beliefs, really.
No, it sounds like I had another metaphor like death by 1,000 cuts. It's not like one pivotal moment, but it sounds like a bunch of things built up over time.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. As long as there have been men and women roaming the face of the earth, they've both been rejecting each other. Why should you, or any of us for that matter, be exempt? No one likes being rejected, I know, but we don't all end up hating women because of it. There's someone for everyone, and just because you haven't found that someone yet, it doesn't mean that he or she isn't out there. No one is entitled to a life of blissful happiness. We all have to work on it. It's becoming apparent this guy has no clue what he's talking about. Not that I really needed to point that out, but he doesn't.
One of the common criticisms about the incel community is that you feel entitled to sex or intimacy.
Well, I wasn't going to bring this up, but since you've mentioned it, I do agree they do seem to think that they are owed sex. And I hate to break it to you, but that's just not how the world works. No one is owed anything. You have to go out and get it. And if you don't want to make any sort of an effort to do that, then shut up.
Do you believe that you deserve sex or intimacy from a woman?
I think everybody at some level deserves someone that loves them and, you know, respects them, as long as you are also loving and respectful towards that person. You know, they're an equal. You know, you're not like seeking someone beyond yourself. You know, you don't have like too high standards, I suppose. You know.
Just a second. Being deserving of love is not the same thing as thinking that you're entitled to sex, though, is it? And hating every woman that won't give it to you. And the comment about having too high standards confuses me. Is that why you don't just smarten yourself up and go out on the pull? Because you think that women's standards are too high, and why should you? And that's the problem? Which it is, just not in the way that you think. And you say that as long as you're loving and respectful to a person, as if that's what you are, mate, you're an incel, a self-confessed incel, which if anything is the direct opposite of being loving and respectful, especially towards women.
If you can tell the world about something about being incel that, you know, that may not be in the internet or that's overlooked heavily, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's mostly that most of the men are not inherently bad people. A lot of them are just lonely. They just need some help.
Can't believe I'm going to say this, but I do actually agree with them. You do need help. But let me start off by explaining what's not helpful. Joining an incel community filled with other hateful turds who are just going to add fire to the flame that is your hatred of women. If you truly believe that members of the incel community need help, then try and help them. Not reinforce their outdated and, quite frankly, stupid beliefs.
You don't want to be an incel?
No.
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole involuntarily thing. I mean, you know, you want to try and escape it. You want to be something better. You know, you want to get a wife, get a girlfriend, get someone who loves you, spend your life with them, and be happy. And
okay, I don't want to go into full dad mode, but you're young. Drop this stupid incel label. Work on yourself and what you believe. Go out and socialise. You never know what or who is around the corner. Well, there we go. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section. Now, I know this is a little bit more serious than my usual style of content, but I couldn't see a way to make what this guy was talking about funny. Mainly because it isn't. It's just really, really sick and twisted, in my humble opinion. But if you do want to watch my usual style of nonsense, click on this video and enjoy yourself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.